It has long been believed that Sam Elliott is the type of Hollywood star who never slows down. A man who seemed nearly impenetrable due to his strong voice, authoritative demeanor, and timeless parts. He has been revered by audiences for decades as a representation of fortitude and perseverance, the performer who appeared to be immune to the effects of aging. However, fresh rumors have emerged that make many people uneasy. People did not want to hear the information, and they bring up challenging issues regarding Elliott's future and potential future developments. This information may cause you to reevaluate all of your preconceived notions about him. The path to Hollywood for Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott has consistently been one of Hollywood's most unique characters. He became an actor who felt suited for parts that were grounded in grit and reality because of his deep baritone voice, tough look, and composed yet authoritative demeanor. Generations of viewers were impacted by his decades-long work. His journey is noteworthy, though, not only because of how long he worked in Hollywood, but also because of the jobs he constantly chose that had an impact, painting a picture of a man who remained loyal to himself while leaving behind performances that will never be forgotten. Sam Elliott was born in Sacramento, California, on August 9, 1944, marking the beginning of his story. With its blend of untamed frontier energy and natural beauty, the California environment reflected the elements Elliott would later bring to the film. Elliott grew up in the post-war era, when Westerns dominated American entertainment and influenced societal perceptions of morality, resiliency, and masculinity. His acting career would eventually be significantly impacted by these influences. However, there was no assurance in these formative years that he would become an actor, much less one who would be in demand for decades. By the end of the 1960s, Elliott was starting to get recognition in Hollywood. He made his debut with The Way West in 1967. The movie, which portrayed the tale of pioneers overcoming the Oregon Trail's challenges, included a cast of seasoned stars. This was a modest yet important start for Elliott. In addition to providing him with his first taste of the film industry, it introduced him to the Western genre, which would later play a major role in shaping his personality as an actor. Elliott got his first credited role in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969, just 2 years later. Even though he didn't play a major role in the movie, his participation in such a historic production was significant. Elliott's name was linked to a project that would be remembered for generations, and the film went on to become a classic of American cinema. In the 1970s, Elliott's perseverance paid off as his career started to grow significantly. He starred in the horror movie Frogs in 1972, which was about nature rebelling against man. Even while the film itself might not have been a hit, it was a significant step for Elliott since it gave him the chance to play the lead and prove to viewers that he could carry a film. He played the lead in Lifeguard, a movie that put him at the heart of a profoundly human tale. 4 years later, in 1976, in his portrayal of lifeguard Rick Carlson, who struggles with identity and time, Elliott added nuance and vulnerability to the role. His portrayal was hailed by critics, and viewers identified with the character's hardships. Lifeguard was a game-changer, transforming Elliott from a supporting character to a prominent figure deserving of notice. For Elliott, the late 1970s and early 1980s were years of consistent expansion. He gained popularity on television at this time, making appearances on programs like Hawaii 5, Gunsmoke, and Mission Impossible. Through these performances, he was able to hone his skills and win over television viewers. During a period when actors from TV and movies frequently lived in different worlds, Elliott was able to create a niche for himself in both. His versatility was shown in his work on television. He was equally at home in Western storylines, suspenseful sequences, and action-packed plots. His reputation as a dependable performer who could be relied upon to perform in any format was cemented by these parts. This reputation was further strengthened by roles in films in the 1980s. Elliott played a key role in Mask 1985, co-starring with Cher. Elliott portrayed his role, Gar, with warmth and nuance. Gar was a kind-hearted motorcyclist. His ability to display tenderness without sacrificing believability was demonstrated by the part. One of his defining characteristics was his ability to strike a balance between toughness and humanity. He played the role of Wade Garrett, an experienced bouncer and mentor to Patrick Swayze's character in the 1989 film Roadhouse, which was released just 4 years later. Elliott was ideally suited for this role, which allowed him to fully embrace his persona as the seasoned, tough, and wise character. Roadhouse became a cult favorite despite not being a critical success. And one of the reasons it is still so well remembered is Elliott's performance. When Elliott starred in Tombstone, one of the most acclaimed westerns of the modern period, in 1993, his career hit yet another high point. He gave the part of Wyatt Earp's brother, Virgil Earp, a strong and devoted family member, a sense of gravity. His portrayal gave the movie a solid foundation, and Tombstone later became a key piece of the Western revival of the 1990s. Elliott didn't need to control every scene by this point, because his on-screen persona had become so strong. Without trying, his voice, his manner, and his genuineness spoke for themselves. Tombstone solidified his place as one of the main figures preserving the Western tradition. Elliott had another pivotal experience in the 1990s. He starred in The Big Lebowski in 1998 as the Stranger, a shadowy cowboy character who tells and directs the tale in his own unique manner. Elliott developed a renowned persona with little on-screen time. The Stranger became one of the movie's most memorable characters thanks to his serene voice, insightful remarks, and cowboy knowledge. Elliott's performance was crucial to The Big Lebowski's ongoing appeal, which made it a cult favorite adored by fans everywhere. The Stranger served as the initial exposure to Sam Elliott's distinct presence for a large number of younger viewers who learned about him from this movie. The reaction to Sam Elliott in 2022. On August 9, 1944, Sam Elliott was born in Sacramento, California. His gruff demeanor and strong voice would distinguish him from others from a young age. As a child growing up in California, Elliott was drawn to the open spaces and visuals of the American West, which would later become the basis of his Hollywood persona. In contrast to many performers who enter the business later in life, Elliott appeared to be destined for it. His innate personality complemented the kinds of characters that would be the focus of his career. Men of resilience, conviction, and quiet strength. The groundwork for one of the most unique careers in television and film was established by this commencement. In the late 1960s, when the Western genre was still popular but starting to evolve, he made his Hollywood debut. In 1967, Elliott made his cinematic debut with The Way West. Even though it was an uncredited performance, it was the first step toward his career establishment. Even though it might not have instantly made him a household name, Elliott's first credited performance was in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid 2 years later in 1969. Even though it had a little role, sharing screen time in such a historic event gave him the opportunity to start establishing his career in Hollywood. It was clear that his presence was noticeable even in little roles, and his career started to take off. It turned out that Elliott started establishing his own on-screen persona in the 1970s. He starred in the horror movie Frogs in 1972, which was a reflection of the time's genre experimentation. But in 1976, he had a bigger breakthrough with Lifeguard. Elliott played a pivotal role in that movie, showcasing his understated charm and storytelling skills. In addition to his tough appearance, Lifeguard showed his ability to give his characters nuance and relatability. Although some reviewers thought the film was too little, viewers recognized Elliott as a star with a certain charm. His recognition was greatly increased by this performance, which also demonstrated that he was capable of handling the role of leading man. Consistent and dependable labor characterized the ensuing years. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Elliott established a steady rhythm. In contrast to some actors who falter after first successes, he demonstrated his versatility by switching between television and movies with ease. His performances on iconic television shows like Gunsmoke, Mission Impossible, and Hawaii 5 allowed him to show off his consistent variety. At the same time, his cinematic career gave his resume significant depth. He starred in the heartwarming drama Mask in 1985, which revealed a more sensitive side to his on-screen persona. Elliott was no longer limited to straightforward Western stereotypes by that point. He has demonstrated his ability to play nuanced roles. His profile was considerably raised in the late 1980s. In 1989, Elliott co-starred with Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse, a performance that perfectly complemented his gritty image. After this, he played Virgil Earp in Tombstone in 1993, which was another important role. With its ensemble of gritty characters, Elliott's performance was a natural fit for the film, which went on to become one of the most acclaimed modern westerns. Tombstone is still regarded by many admirers as a pivotal moment in his career, solidifying his status as one of the greatest contemporary Western actors. However, Elliott has demonstrated his ability to go outside the genre. He narrated and led the audience through the bizarre tale in the 1998 film The Big Lebowski as the Stranger, a position that has since come to represent him. With his distinctive voice connecting the whole movie, Elliott's character was both enigmatic and grounded. Despite getting poor reviews at first, The Big Lebowski became a cult favorite, and Elliott's contribution was crucial to its enduring appeal. For a performer who is already well known for his somber roles, this eccentric and pensive persona showed a new and noteworthy aspect of his work. Elliott had solidified his reputation as a dependable supporting actor and a cultural icon whose influence went well beyond the screen by the end of the 1990s. Even though Elliott's career was characterized by powerful, well-liked parts, his path also shone that he was never reluctant to voice his opinions. That became particularly evident in 2022 decades later, when he made headlines for his vocal criticism of Jane Campion's award-winning film, The Power of the Dog, rather than for a performance. When Elliott dubbed the movie a piece of **T during an appearance on Mark Moran's WTF podcast, it immediately caused a lot of controversy. His critique focused on how the movie portrayed masculinity in the Western genre, and how it portrayed homosexuality. All of the Fing cowboys in that film are dressed like that, galloping around in chaps and no shirts. Throughout the film, there are numerous false impressions of homosexuality, Elliott explained. The representation, in Elliott's opinion, was unauthentic and went against the Western culture he had long represented. He went one step farther and questioned if Campion could recount the story in a truthful way. What the F*** does this woman from down there in New Zealand know about the American West? He asked, praising her skill as a brilliant director, but also objecting to the choice of filming location, criticizing the use of New Zealand as a stand-in for Montana. The entertainment industry was rocked by the comments. In response, Jane Campion pointedly said that Elliott is an actress, and not a cowboy, calling his remarks somewhat misogynistic. Her defense brought to light the more general idea that, like any other art form, the Western genre is open to interpretations that go against the grain. The movie star Benedict Cumberbatch also offered his thoughts, stressing the value of using narrative to examine toxic masculinity, and pointing out that Elliott's response represented a generational conflict over what a Western could or ought to be. The extraordinary legacy of Elliott. Sam Elliott has shown over the years that his talent and popularity transcended genres and decades. With a string of roles that demonstrated his ability to adjust to changing storytelling approaches, while retaining the gritty reality that characterized his career, Elliott, who had already made a name for himself as a reliable and powerful presence in both television and movies, ushered in the new millennium. He provided his unique voice to the animated comedy Barnyard in 2006, which exposed him to younger viewers who might not have known about his previous work. His rich, powerful voice, which was instantly recognizable, gave the character a sense of authority and humor, demonstrating that Elliott's presence was felt even in animation. His range was further extended in the ensuing years. Based on Philip Pullman's book, Elliott starred in the 2007 fantasy adventure movie, The Golden Compass. Although reviews for the film were mixed, Elliott's performance was particularly noteworthy. He was able to bridge the gap between the increasingly popular fantasy genre and classic Hollywood narrative, by bringing even the most fanciful storylines down to earth, with authenticity. Then, in 2009, Elliott starred with George Clooney in the film, Up in the Air. The movie, which addressed issues of personal connection and business downsizing, showcased yet another aspect of Elliott's adaptability. He was able to make an impact even in supporting parts, which strengthened his standing as an actor who added depth to every movie he worked on. As Elliott balanced commercial and personal endeavors, his consistent presence persisted far into the following 10 years. He made a comeback to voice acting in 2015, this time in The Good Dinosaur from Pixar. His involvement gave the movie a depth that was entirely consistent with his well-established character. Elliott demonstrated that his voice alone could convey a character's emotional weight and engage audiences of all ages. Just like in his previous animation work, his involvement in a wide range of movies, from dramatic features to family animation, demonstrated how his career was never static, but rather always evolving. Elliott discovered a new platform between 2015 and 2017 that allowed him to reintroduce himself to viewers in a novel way. He co-starred with Ashton Kutcher in the comedy-drama series, The Ranch on Netflix. Elliott was able to combine humor with the rugged reality that had always characterized him, because to his role in the show, it proved that his skills would fit right in with streaming entertainment, which was fast emerging as the next big thing in narrative. Elliott starred in The Hero 2017, around the same time, a role that would garner him a lot of praise from critics. The picture, which looked to be a perfect fit for Elliott, followed an elderly Western performer as he reflected on his life and legacy. His ability to draw from his personal experiences and add a degree of sincerity that struck a deep chord with viewers was praised by numerous critics. This performance wasn't your typical one. It seemed to be an introspective comment about celebrity, aging, and meaning. When Elliott achieved a milestone in 2018 that many had long thought he deserved, that momentum continued. He co-starred with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born, for which he received an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Cooper's character's older brother, Bobby Maine, was portrayed by Elliott in a subtle yet impactful way. His scenes, especially those that addressed family strife and the intricacies of brotherly ties, were frequently subdued yet intensely emotional. Decades of commitment to his profession were acknowledged by the nomination, which confirmed that Elliott was not just a well-known actor, but also a highly regarded performer whose work had made a lasting impression on the business. The Oscar nomination seemed like a long overdue recognition of his contributions to filmmaking to both critics and fans. After that high point in his career, Elliott maintained his relevance in the field by accepting new challenges and taking on tasks that played to his skills. He played Shay Brennan in the Yellowstone prequel series, 1883 and 2021. Elliott was thrust back into the center of the Western genre, where he had always thrived, with this performance. However, 1883 offered a more complex and grim viewpoint than the early Westerns of his career, and Elliott was up to the challenge. His performance of Brennan, a rugged, resolute man who guides families over the perilous American frontier, received accolades for its emotional resonance and depth. Elliott became one of the most successful performers of his generation after receiving a Screen Actors Guild Award for his efforts. In addition to reminding viewers of his long-standing ties to Western heritage, this part demonstrated that Elliott was still capable of producing powerful performances. Decades into his career, Elliott's career continued to grow, even when he entered his late 70s and early 80s. He was still as committed to performing as ever. It was also revealed in 2025 that he will be joining the cast of the Paramount Plus series Landman. Interestingly, fans were really excited when Elliott was revealed as a series regular for the second season of the show. There was excitement about what their partnership would offer to the series, because the project brought him and Billy Bob Thornton, another actor with a distinctive on-screen persona, back together. For Elliott, this new position was a continuation of his ongoing significance in contemporary storytelling, rather than merely another endeavor. He continued to be a sought-after performer who could attract audiences and give standout performances, even after spending decades in Hollywood. The contentious political beliefs of Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott has always been known for his strong presence, tough appearance, and most importantly, his distinctive voice. It has narrated innumerable movies, played the part of well-known personalities, and even influenced the tone of advertisements and documentaries. In a startling and surprising development, Elliott's voice is now being heard in American politics. Elliott, who is most known for his roles in dramas and westerns, has dabbled in political activism on occasion in the past, but this recent action may be his most audacious to date. By lending his voice to a recent Lincoln Project advertisement, Elliott is directly addressing misogyny in voting practices with his unique manner. Elliott addresses voters directly in the Lincoln Project ad, something that not many political advertisements dare to do. He does not soften or use cautious language when narrating. Rather, it is tinged with unapologetic directness and occasional profanity. Elliott urges voters to put aside their long-standing biases and back Kamala Harris in her bid to become the first female president of the United States. His remarks are more than just advice, they provide a problem. Why in the world are you waiting? With direct honesty that cuts through the cacophony, he asks. Because it's time to move on if it's the woman issue. Change and hope are long overdue. Voting for a woman is time to act like a man. This comment is powerful not just because of what is said, but also because of the speaker. Elliott's voice has come to represent power, heritage, and sincerity. Hearing him convey such a message has significance beyond ordinary political discourse. Elliott doesn't skirt the subject of sexism in politics by confronting the prejudices that certain voters might harbor. Rather, he exposes it for what it is, and calls on Americans to abandon their antiquated beliefs. Over the past 4 years, the Lincoln Project has established a reputation for delivering incisive, unyielding political messages, but combining their methodology with Elliott's voice adds a level of cultural authority that is difficult to overlook. Elliott has already voiced his opinions in a political setting. He provided the voiceover for a 2020 campaign ad for Joe Biden, the Democratic nominee at the time. That advertisement sent a different message, one that was more grounded in custom and individuality. Elliott supported a politician at the time, whose public image reflected some of his own. A white man who had been well known for decades, he had finally attained a moment of prominence in his latter years. Although Elliott made a substantial contribution to that campaign, it was in keeping with the perception that many people already had of him. He was supporting someone who appeared to be akin to the kinds of characters he had long played on cinema. But the dynamic is different this time. Elliott has also changed his tone to reflect President Biden's 2024 resignation and his support for Vice President Kamala Harris as his favored successor. The stakes are different, as the new Lincoln Project advertisement makes evident. Voters who previously backed Biden are now being urged by Elliott to do the same for Harris. Regardless of any personal uneasiness or prejudices people might have about supporting a woman, he does not hold back from outright calling out the barrier sexism. For the sake of the future of the nation, his speech urges voters to acknowledge and overcome their prejudices. Elliott's voice emphasizes the importance of the impending election, which emphasizes this point in the advertisement. Before highlighting a stark difference between the candidates, he says, "You know what's at stake. One stands for progress, while the other promises a divided America full of hate and lies." He frames the decision in harsh terms, with straightforward yet impactful phrases. The possibility of more divide under Donald Trump, the Republican nominee once again, is on the one hand. Elliott portrays Kamala Harris, the opposing candidate, as having greater bravery, honor, and guts than this man ever possessed. There is little room for doubt in Elliott's delivery, and the contrast is obvious. It is clear how the Lincoln Project used Elliott's voice. They are addressing voters who might have been hesitant to back Harris in 2020, but might have felt at ease backing Biden. By portraying the decision as both morally and logically sound, the advertisement aims to close that gap. This message is conveyed through Elliott's voice, which has a worn authority. It goes beyond simply endorsing a candidate. It involves getting above one's own prejudices in order to make a choice that represents advancement. Elliott purposefully uses rough language. He exclaims, "I can't believe we're having this conversation again," with noticeable annoyance. So, here we go. The tone and structure of the advertisement convey the urgency of the situation. Elliott's voiceover serves as the emotional backbone, as the footage alternates between black and white shots of Trump and more upbeat pictures of Harris. He does not sound like a disinterested storyteller. They are often raw, incisive, and intimate. His commentary goes so far into obscene territory at one point that it guarantees the advertisement won't be shown on broadcast television. You make the decision. Are we actually heading back down the same path? Or are we making progress? Although the word choice may be debatable, it captures the gravity of Elliott's point. He's not just telling a story. He is calling on voters to consider the country's future critically. It is impossible to overstate the significance of Elliott's voice in this situation. For many years, viewers have connected him with resilient, wise, and strong people. The advertisement draws on a rich cultural reservoir by addressing voters about sexism and bigotry with that same voice. It conveys the idea that this isn't your typical campaign moment. We are at a fork in the road. The advertisement presents the election as a test of values, rather than a decision on policy. According to Elliott, America's advancement hinges on its capacity to put prejudices aside and accept the prospect of a female president. There is a sense of continuity in Elliott's activism when this new chapter is linked to his prior political engagement in 2020. He was behind Biden at the time, a man who shared his familiarity and tenacity. He is now requesting that those same voters continue to have faith in Harris in 2024, despite the fact that she stands for something that is unfamiliar to them. His readiness to change his allegiance emphasizes the notion that devotion should be based on the values at issue, rather than on outward appearances or comfort zones. This message is condensed into a challenge that transcends political party boundaries and individual hesitancy by Elliott's direct reminder that it's time to be a man and vote for a woman. Sam Elliott's apology in 2022. Sam Elliott's career, which is based on sincerity, perseverance, and a voice that millions of people can recognize, has been full of both triumphant and introspective times. He came into the 2020s with the same acerbic and unvarnished honesty that has long characterized him after decades of work in television and film. However, his frank critique of Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog in early 2022 caused a stir. Widespread controversy resulted from his scathing comments regarding the movie's depiction of masculinity and his doubts about Campion's legitimacy as a New Zealander helming a Western. Some viewed his remarks as unduly harsh and contemptuous, especially of the film's themes of sexuality and identity, while his supporters applauded his candor. His remarks sparked debate about how those values translate into contemporary movie narratives for an actor who had so frequently personified the tough, conventional cowboy persona. Elliott, however, did not allow the controversy to continue unanswered. He decided to confront the matter head-on in April 2022, when he appeared at the Deadline's Contenders TV panel for the show 1883. In front of reporters and other business people, Elliott adopted a contemplative demeanor and apologized unequivocally for the comments that had sparked such a stir just weeks before. He spoke calmly, clearly, and with the same earnestness that had long been a feature of his public persona. "I wasn't very articulate about it," Elliott said, admitting that his delivery and word choice had been direct and, in his own opinion, irresponsible. "I feel terrible about saying some things that hurt people," he continued. This instance revealed a new side to Elliott. He leaned into accountability rather than doubling down or ignoring the criticism. In a society where public personalities frequently opt for defensiveness, Elliott's apology was straightforward and based on humility. In particular, he expressed regret for insulting the LGBTQ+ community, which he highlighted had always been supportive and kind to him during his lengthy career. "Throughout my career, the gay community has been amazing," he remarked. "And by that, I mean my whole professional life, starting before I came to this place. Up until now, friends have been found in every job description and on every level." With those remarks, Elliott made it apparent that he did not want to be known for alienating others or destroying the honor of the groups of people who had welcomed him for a long time. During the apologies, Elliott also seized the opportunity to draw attention to the individuals who gave the dog its power. He congratulated the performers for their outstanding performances, especially Benedict Cumberbatch, whose portrayal of Phil Burbank had been crucial to the film's success, and praised director Jane Campion, calling her a filmmaker of enormous genius. In addition to lessening the effect of his previous criticism, this admission demonstrated his sincere regard for the narrative skill. He reiterated, "I can only say that I'm sorry," adding that his previous statement did not adequately express the respect he felt. His remarks also supported the idea that an honest apology can be just as significant as the initial transgression. Elliott's voice, which is frequently connected to Western epics, movie narrations, and memorable characters, persisted throughout this time of repentance. "I wasn't articulate, and I feel terrible about that," he said in his own words, lending further credibility to the apology. Generations of moviegoers trusted his voice, which made the message of accountability more credible.